Hello, everyone, and welcome to the BUSR Winter F1 Series. We are past the halfway point in the season, and we have the potential for a 5 or 6-way title fight as we move into the business end of the championship. Unfortunately, you can't see. Oh no, there we go. We're into the session. It's a brilliant start. We kicked off straight into qualifying 2 minutes down. We're at the Dutch Grand Prix. We're going to have to cut the intro extremely short. We're at the Dutch Grand Prix, the Max Verstappen Grand Prix at the circuit of Zandvoort. We have a full lobby, or maybe not actually, there's 19 cars instead of 20. So somebody has pulled out late, but matters not. We will continue as we watch AD go over the line to start flying up in the Alfa Romeo. In the virtual commentary box this evening, it is myself, Tom, and we have Glinty or Alex. How are you doing, buddy?
Hi, I'm a little bit ill, but all good.
Excellent stuff, excellent stuff. Quickly, before we start getting some times on the board, what are your thoughts about this track? Been back on the calendar in real life for the past 3 seasons. Are you a fan of the Dutch Grand Prix?
I mean, my experience is from ACC, more with Zandvoort, and I do find it is a tricky track to master, but actually it is quite an interesting track to drive. I mean, the F1 website says it's a fun track to drive, and I'm like, well. But once you get the hang of it, yeah, it's definitely a good idea to keep it back on.
Yeah, it can be a pretty tricky track to drive at times. We're watching AD at the moment, who I believe is going to be the first driver to complete a first flying lap in qualifying. You can see the 2 purple sectors through, Sector 1 and Sector 2, as we come up to the final couple of corners. We'll see where the Alfa Romeo goes as we come through the second of the banked corners, the famous banked corners, one of which we have at turn 3 as well. The Audi... Oh yeah, too many A's. 80 in the Alfa Romeo up to the line. It's a 109.6. That is the benchmark, and I expect that to be lowered by the likes of the 2 Williams cars as Morand in the second Alfa goes a couple of tenths behind. We've got Dazen, we've got Geek, the 2 Williams, as we said, as Assassin pops in there as well. I'm expecting the times to be pretty close as Alfa lowers the benchmark by 2 tenths of a second because it is a pretty short track.
Oh, caution in Sector 1. Has somebody span off or crashed?
I think it's just going to be people getting out of the way, most likely. The yellow flags do get thrown pretty often for cars getting out of the way on their flying laps. We've got Matty Moon at the moment in the first of the Williams cars coming round the penultimate corner. You can see using all of that ERS as we come up to the line. DRS open very early, going around the final corner. And what is this time going to be? I expect it to be close to the 1 minute 8. Well, we're halfway through the 1 minute 8. It's a 1 minute 8.5, puts nearly a second of a gap between himself and Alfa in second place. This is Dazen, the last week's Grand Prix winner at the Circuit de Barcelona, as RWB pops up into second place in the Mercedes. Good luck there as Cameron Sell, our championship leader, currently goes into third. Only a 9.0, half a second down on Matty Mumu as Geek Dazen goes purple in Sector 1. I think it's going to be, we should be seeing 3 flying laps from most of our drivers here. The tyre wear is not going to be too bad. It'll be interesting to see what strategies we do go for if people want to save a set of soft tyres. This is a pretty tidy from Dazen though, coming up to the final sector. I'd expect him to go around that high 1 minute 8 mark to challenge for the top 3. He's actually purple in the middle sector, so he could be challenging Matty Moo. We'll have to wait and see. More yellow flags in that middle sector for cars getting out of the way. It was a McLaren and an Alpine, I believe. Dazen up to the line. Joe, the second Williams, goes third, 108.8. Dazen lowers the benchmark by about 0.02 of a second. This is very close at the moment. Top 5 covered by just half a second as Geek over the line. The other one of the leading contenders, I imagine, we'll see him challenging for the podium in a couple of hours' time. Goes into the top 5 with a 108.8. Top 3 covered by just over 2.5 tenths, and then Joe and Geek sat back on 108.8. Cameron Sell a little bit further back for our championship leader on 9.0, but that, after just 4 or so minutes, we have pretty much all of our flying lap times. Looking through the guys further down, we said Alfa, who was quickest at one point, now down in 7th, ahead of Aria in the Alpine. 80, who was the first driver over the line, in 9th, and then GMT UFC in the first of the Ferrari cars, just ahead of Tom Hug in 10th and 11th. Assassin 12th for Aston Martin, followed by Moore Island. Quicks in the second Alpine, Fabio in the Ferrari, and then we've got Mids and Nat the Cat in the 111s down at the back. Krabby Patty and Ice yet to the lap time. Krabby Patty is not in the session, I believe, and Ice currently in the pits. I've just been informed that Krabby Patty does have a quali ban, so we won't be seeing the Alpha Tauri driver dueling it out for the potential to start probably around that top 10 spot for Krabby Patty. So it is only going to be 18 going for pole today. Who's your money on at the moment, though? We've got 5 or 6 drivers looking very competitive early on.
Oh, probably, I don't know, Matty Mumu is probably someone that's been up and around top most of the season. Or RWB, one of those two, I reckon. Or maybe Geek could come up and beat the lot of them. We never know.
Yeah, Geek's had a few issues recently with some difficult performances, it had to be said. But Geek is obviously a very fast driver, as the two McLarens, was it? I don't think it was both McLarens. It looked like an orange car, but it might have been the Ferrari coming out of the pits with Alpha up in 7th at the moment. Pretty good banker lap for Alpha. Only, well, I say only 6 tenths off his teammate, but Geek is one of the best out there. There it was. It was GMT in the Ferrari coming out of the pits. Yellow flags once again in sector 1, because I think they're getting out of the way of an Alpha Tauri on an outlap, is it? No, I think it's just people being very orderly, getting out of each other's way. Just over 10 minutes to go, and the top two split by 0.02 of a second. This could be a very interesting next 10 minutes, and a very close qualifying session for us to enjoy as well.
It's interesting to see. Ice, is it not Ice Nearless? Still hasn't left the pit. Well, hasn't set a time. Left the pit, obviously. But do you reckon perhaps overrun in a couple of corners, maybe picked up an invalid lap?
Potentially. I'm not sure if Ice has actually left the pits yet, so could be just saving that first set of tyres, waiting for the track to rubber in a little bit. The track evolution isn't going to be as massive as you'd see it somewhere like Singapore, where you can find on a second going through the entire session. So we should be seeing those chunks of times found. Someone that does want to find a big chunk of time, though, is our championship leader, Cameron Searle, who we're riding on board with as we go through the first of the banked corners of turn 3 up towards the flicks left and right to end the first sector of 4, 5 and 6. This long right-handed corner. He's actually matched his personal best through the first sector. Very difficult to do. It's very easy to run out into the gravel on the left-hand side of both of these corners and get hooked in by the curves on the outside. They are very, very menacing, and you can just ride it Tony Hawk style if you get it slightly wrong. A little bit wide, though, going through turn 10 as we come up to the second sector split. I think he might be struggling to compete with our leading contenders, and 10th and a half down, so struggling to get the nose in. Maybe a compromised setup for qualifying, not quite got the front end grip that he would like, and I doubt he's going to improve unless he had a very difficult final sector last time. We'll see as we come round the final couple of corners. The second of the bank turns as the DRS is wide open. ERS being burnt as we come up to the line. Cameron Searle trying to improve on a 9-0 across the line, and it is still a 9-0, but doesn't improve 6 milliseconds off his personal best, and that's a set of soft tyres burnt up for not a lot of reward.
But at the end of the day, it's a gamble, taking a risk like that. So, it could have paid off, but unfortunately it just hasn't. So, it is what it is.
Yeah, as RWB had a difficult couple of races. RWB was towards the front in our season opener, then dropped off a little bit towards the midfield and lower midfield. In fact, in some of the previous races, I think Hungary was down towards the back. But going purple in the first sector, this seems to be a track that's suiting the Mercedes driver very nicely. We've got an AlphaTauri going slowly. I think that is just Cameron Searle getting out of the way, although he looked very wide. RWB, purple in the first sector, purple in the middle sector. He's sporting the purple race helmet, and he's setting purple sectors, setting the timing charts alight as he looks to challenge Dazen at the top of the timing charts, who is still in the pit, so probably looking to save a second set of soft tyres and keeps them fresh for the race. RWB around the final corner. What is this going to be? Been a good lap so far. Cuts the beam. Is it going to be a quadruple purple? Goes third. No. Finds a 10th of a second, but stays third fastest. Improves to a 108.6. But there's maybe a little bit more in RWB having looked at those first couple of sectors, and we could be seeing that 5-way scrap for pole, because Cameron Searle at the moment doesn't look like he's got the pace to challenge with our leading contenders at the moment. 7 minutes to go as Aria is on a flying lap, but must have made a mistake somewhere, because 12 seconds off your delta is not the distance you want to be finding yourself at. Up in 8th at the moment, so it's been a good session so far. This is Tom Hug coming up to a similar part of the track, actually, to complete the middle sector. Goes purple, in fact. Found 3.5 tenths nearly. This could be challenging towards the top 5, maybe. Cameron Searle's going to be under pressure to keep hold of some grip positions. Had a really difficult time last time out in Barcelona. Retired early on due to, I think it was some wheel issues. I didn't quite catch it, but Yeah, this is not good form being shown by a championship leader. Blew the championship fight wide open as Tom Hug goes up into 8th place, slots in just behind Alpha. 6.5 minutes left. It's very close wherever you are. Top guys are very close, midfield's very close, and then the battle for the wooden spoon at the bottom is pretty close as well. Nat the Cat and Miz separated by just 3/4 of a tenth. Problems for Fabio on this flying lap was 7 seconds down, not the position you want to find yourself in. The yellow flag's being thrown all over the gaff, but people getting out of the way, although I think this is more on a flying lap. He must have made a mistake. Ice has retired. That looks like he's smashed into the pit wall from where that Red Bull is stationary. So that is going to be the end of his session. I'm going to start right at the back of the field. I want to try and pick up on Dazen, though, who's going for a second flying lap. We've got Matty Moon coming back into the pits. Didn't find any time on his second run. Dazen was about half a tenth up through the first sector we saw there. We'll see what it is as he cuts the beam. Found another couple of hundredths. So it's going to be a small improvement if he can keep this up. New race winner, of course, last time out, looking to build on that momentum and really challenge for this championship. He's right in the mix with those guys around him at the moment, like Matty Mumu, like Joe, like Geek and Cameron Searle. We'll have to wait and see what this is, but Dazen up to the line, cuts the beam, and will it be another improvement? It is by, well, a third of a tenth. Lost a bit of time in that final sector, but it is a 108.502 and opens the gap to just over half a tenth now between himself and Matty Moon. RWB still third, Joe and Geek rounding out the top 5 as Fabio looks to go again, but is down by just under a tenth through the first sector. Yeah, guys struggling to make massive improvements. It seems like they've already reached sort of 99% of their potential early on in this session, which is interesting. You don't normally see that. Obviously, we said earlier that the track evolution isn't as massive as some of the other tracks. You would expect people to find a bit more time as they get into a rhythm, get warmed up, so it's interesting to see.
Oh, I think we had another as Ice Nihilist quit the session by any chance.
No, I think he was the guy that crashed into the pit wall earlier, if that was what happened. We didn't quite catch it, but there was a stationary blue dot on the minimap. Fabio's going to complete this, that for Ferrari, down in 15th at the moment. We'll be looking for an improvement, finds a 10th, but stays only 15th. Disappointing at the moment. Quick's currently 14th, just above. In fact, is over a second down on his teammates, so we'll be looking to find a decent chunk of time on this second flying lap. I think it's only been one lap from Quick so far. You'd expect this to be the final lap the Alpine driver sets in the session with only just under 4 minutes to go. We're going to ride on board for most of it, I believe, as we go through turn 1. Nice and tidy from the Alpine driver. Hopefully that Alpine doesn't blow up, as we've seen countless times in real life with the Renault engine reliability not being quite where it should be, let's say that. Typical Renault in F1, though, to be honest. Quick, so going through the kinks of the first sector, found just under a tenth of a second. We'll be looking to try and jump. Well, it's not a big improvement, unless his final 2 sectors were pretty rubbish as he gets caught on the curb on the outside a little bit. That's going to affect the amount of delta time he can find in these final couple of sectors. This section is really tricky, actually. We saw it with Cameron Searle earlier, struggling to get the nose in. The traction's actually really difficult as well, to try and keep the car on the black stuff as Quicks as, well, I don't believe that's going to be a purple middle sector. But he is a quarter of a second up, so should jump up a couple of places maybe if he can keep this up.
Between going from sort of a fast corner from turn 7 to turn 8, turn 9, and maybe a bit at turn 10, it's very hard to position that car. As I was saying, when you're learning the track, it's always a little bit iffy.
Yeah. Quicks finds just under 4/10 of a second, but stays 14th. I think that's going to be it for Quicks' qualifying. A maximum of 14th, which will be a little bit disappointing. You can see is only another couple of tenths to be challenging with the top 10. So that is how close it is in that midfield. We can see most drivers coming out to start their final flying laps. Mids is a tenth and a half down. Maybe got caught up with a bit of traffic in that first sector. So that's probably qualifying over for the Aston Martin driver. Predictions, though. We've seen people go. We had a prediction earlier on in the session. Now we're getting down to the business end. Who are you putting your money on to get pole position for this race?
I think we still got a little bit too. Still got some time to have a look. I don't think it's something that I put my money on at the moment.
I'm going to go with Dazen. I know he's still in the pits, but we haven't seen the improvements we were expecting from some of the guys behind. Geek's actually in the pits as well. hasn't got that long left to come out. Mid's found about 4/10 in the middle sector to give him a 3/10 gain on his previous best. This could jump him up ahead of Nat the Cat, and does. It moves ahead of Fabio, actually finds a second. 10.1 is only 15th, but probably, well, definitely won't be taking the wooden spoon as the Haas of Nat the Cat through the fast kinks of turn 7 and up to turn 8 is off the road. That's going to hamper the Alpine of Ariat, who's actually only on an out lap, but if there was somebody on a flying lap, that would have killed their chances of an improvement. Nat the Cat is going to start last for this qualifying session. We're going to have to wait and see what our leading contenders can manage. A couple of yellow flags still as people getting out of the way. The leading group, with the exception of RWB, all on their final flying laps. Traffic's going to be pretty difficult to manage because you can see the track is very congested, especially in that middle sector with guys either trying to find a gap to make some track space, or just backing off to let faster cars go through. This will be interesting to see what Tom Hug can do. Can he get into the 108s, try and challenge that top 5 maybe? We'll see what the sector split is as we come up to it. Currently on a 9.2. It's not going to be enough, I imagine, to make any real inroads on those top 5 spots. He's going to start behind his teammate, which will be disappointing. First person to compare yourself with is your teammate. This isn't going to help them with some traffic. Takes too much curb on the inside, and there is contact with the McLaren. And I wonder if that was Geek. No, it was Alpha. Alpha with the 5-place grid penalty. And that's Tom Hug and Alpha Session wrecked, because both picking up front wing damage, like you said. And that's what we were talking about, the congested nature of this track. Because it's so short, it's very difficult. That is a wheel on the side of the track, interestingly enough. RWB is going to cross the line to a 12.8. He must have backed off at some point. But yeah, people struggling at the moment to get these flying laps in. Checkered flag is out, so they're all going to count now. Cameron Searle is nearly 3/10 up through the first couple of sectors. We'll have to see where he goes. Isn't probably going to find enough time to get on pole. Joe jumps up ahead of Matty Mumu into second, but is only 0.02 of a second off Dazen. As Cameron Searle, I said he wasn't going to do it. He finds 0.6 of a second to go onto provisional pole. What can Matty Mumu do? He jumps back ahead of his teammate Joe. Cameron Searle is in the driving seat, and Dazen's not improving either.
Yeah. Do you really want to put your money on Dazen?
I'm gonna stick to it. He's backed off. The bookies are wrong. He's backed off. I saw the McLaren of Geek, who we want to try and cut to as well, who'll be on the final flying lap. RWB is a 10th down as well through the first couple of sectors. Geek, who is the only guy that can really challenge at the top left. Geek over the line. Yeah! Geek does it! Geek to the top of the timing charts with a 108.3. It's been flip-flopping in the final couple of seconds. It was Cameron Searle first. Now it's Geek. RWB is going to start a disappointing 6th place in the end. But it is Geek who's had his trials and tribulations over the past couple of races. He is back on pole position for the Papaya McLaren team. And it's Cameron Searle, who for a long time in the session wasn't looking as competitive as the guys around him. But Matty Mumu couldn't find the big gains that Cameron Searle did. Neither did Joe. RWB getting shuffled down to 6th. We've got a 6 drivers at the top there in a class of their own, it has to be said, because the gap back to Alpha in 7th, who admittedly didn't get a second flying lap in, is half a second. But that is qualifying. It was a bit of a slow burner, but it really caught fire at the end there.
Yeah, definitely. But that's the excitement of motorsport. You can have this last minute, throw the kitchen sink at it kind of reaction. Yeah,
that was a very good one for us to watch. Much better than watching cars drive around the Las Vegas circuit.
The upside down pig circuit.
Yes. Any fans that we won't be kicking our fans out for this race, so don't worry. While we've got this little interlude, though, we are going to have a look at what Special Effect do to support people in the gaming community.
Nobody likes being left out. That's why Special Effect are helping people with physical disabilities to play video games. But this isn't just about having fun. The gaming setups we create are personalised, so people can play to the very best of their abilities. And that opens the door to inclusion and independence, confidence and creativity. Help us level the playing field and create more magical gaming moments. Because it's everyone's turn to play.
A fantastic cause, and here at the BUSR, we're very proud to be partnered with Special Effect. Moving on to the racing action, though, we had an extremely exciting qualifying session. Shades of Monaco from the real-life qualifying earlier in the year, with cars leaving it till very late to get some competitive times. And Geek was half a second down at one point. Here's the man that's going to be starting on pole position. We did have a black screen. We're getting ready, though, to get going for the Dutch Grand Prix. Strategy is going to be key. It would be nice if we see some alternate strategies, although I doubt people will be using the soft tyres too much in this session. We'll have to wait and see. Somebody might chance it further down the order, someone in the midfield or towards the back, maybe, if they feel they're a little bit out of position, trying to get a good start and then undercut their way through, gain that all-important track position, because it's not the easiest place to overtake. So we'll have to wait and see what goes on. But it is Geek starting on pole. Cameron Sell, the championship leader, with a drop round alongside him. And then it's Dazen, followed by the two Williams and RWB, who will be disappointed to be down in 6th after at one stage was 3rd and only a 10th off the pole time. So we'll have to wait and see what
Let's hope the strategy
goes down.
Let's hope the strategy is chosen or is going to be carrying out. Let's hope that improves some of his positions.
Yeah, those last-minute strategy changes, maybe some last-minute setup tweaks, although I doubt it, maybe changing the tyre pressures. We're getting ready to go, though, with 3, 4 and now 5 red lights ahead of our drivers. The clutches are dropped now, and we are now underway. A bit of a delay as the lights went out. Good start from Geek out in front. It's actually Dazen who's making progress. Cameron Sells going backwards as we come up towards turn 1. Can he hold it around the inside? No! Yes, he can. There's contact between the two Williams cars. The two teammates have made contact, and then it's carnage behind them, and we have got a safety car instantly. Wow. It was Cameron Sell who was losing places off the line, managed to hold it up the inside, but it was Matimu and Joe, the two teammates who have come together. I'm not sure who was at fault for that, but one of them, I believe it's Joe, is missing a front wing. I think he was starting behind Matimu in 5th, so it would have been on that inside, diving it up the inside. But yeah, that is a controversial moment straight away, and that's 2 of the championship challengers knocked back to the back of the field. Joe's going to have to pit because he's got no front wing, and Matimu for what feels like it feels like this has happened in every race this season. Something has happened to push them to the back of the pack. Yeah, you can see Joe there with half a front wing. He's going to have to box. That's going to kill his strategy. We've actually got no front wing for Assassin either in the Aston Martin, so it must have got caught up. RWB's down there as well. Didn't see that getting caught up. It's a real classic mid-2000s first corner accident that we have seen. But Geek still leading the way. Our top 3 is the Alpine of, I think that's Quicks, goes very well. He's also got no front wing. Neither is the Haas, and we have lost the footage, which is a shame. We're back. We're back. Excellent. Alpha's in the pits too. So many cars picking up damage. That was crazy to see.
For the broadcast as well.
I know. Once these pit stops... sorry, go on.
I was going to say, as long as there's no Senna at Japan, I think we'll all be all right.
Yeah, once these pit stops are made, we'll have a more definitive answer of what the running order is looking like, although I can see a few drivers that have made enormous gains thanks to that. Matimu are actually staying out, so must not have picked up any damage. 11 of our 19 runners staying out. That just shows how much carnage there was on the opening lap. But it is the top 3 remaining as they were. Geek, who got a nice launch, stayed in the lead. Cameron Sell was a little bit sluggish on the inside, but managed to hold off Dazen, who was trying to launch it around the outside. And then it's Tom Hug, who started on the hard tyres. Really good start to get up into 4th, managing to avoid the carnage that involved his teammate and the 2 Williams cars as well. Aria in 5th for Alpine. Can't quite remember where Aria started. I think it was around 8th or 9th. We can get the position change chart back. That would be ideal. I can't actually read it now, which is ideal timing. But it is AD up into 6th place, though. AD up into 6th. Both of those 2, Aria and AD, have found 6 places. GMT, I think that is 4 places picked up for the Ferrari driver. Moore Island up into 8th place, picking up 5. The 2 big winners, though, further back. Mitsu started down in 15th, finding 6 places of Krabby Patty, who had the qualifying ban. It's almost like he didn't have the qualifying ban, because he's up into 10th place, found 8 places from all those cars pitting. Cars involved, though, Alpha getting involved in that skirmish. Joe was potentially the instigator of it. Assassin RWB losing places as well. It's not been a good 5 minutes for RWB. Was in third, dropping down to sixth at the end of qualifying, and then getting caught up in that first corner melee. Ice picking up damage from the back. Quicks, Nat the Cat, and Fabio completing our running order. That was interesting though. It looked like, I believe it was Joe, just got a little bit too ambitious going into turn one and took his teammate out.
In suitable 2000s fashion.
Absolute. Yeah, if we can, if anyone wants to confirm anything that happened, we can get some live information back to you. That would be good, but we'll have to wait and see because the drivers are probably a little bit busy right now trying to get their tyres up to temperature. Looking at the tyre strategies though, because we mentioned that on the grid, the majority are on the medium tyres, but a lot of them have pitted onto the medium, so I wonder if they did start on the hards. We've got a bit of racing going on between a Red Bull of Ice and Quicks, swapping places. You're not allowed to do that under safety car. They seem to be debating 16th at the moment. Quicks on the soft tyres, trying to make some progress on under the safety car restart. That is very interesting. Ice, I think, is having a few connection issues, which explained why he was late out of the pits in qualifying and causing a few issues for Quicks. But the safety car is in this lap though, and Geek is going to have to do it all again to try and hold on to his track position out in front. I wonder if we're going to see another first corner skirmish as people try to make up some places.
I mean, you have to be careful with those skirmishes because otherwise you will end up with a T1 like we've just had.
Exactly.
It's not something that, is very ideal.
No. Geek, he's got all the batteries saved up, of course, and he's just waiting for that optimal moment to pounce and try and catch the cars behind unawares as we wait for the McLaren driver to pounce and go, and he has gone. Halfway around the banking, and Geek has dropped Cameron Searle, and it's actually the AlphaTauri under pressure from Dazen in the more senior Red Bull car. Round the outside is going to go. He couldn't do it on the opening lap round the outside. Dazen's going to hold it. We've got more contact. Banging tyres. Cameron Searle manages to hold on to it. They got very close halfway through the corner. Holds on to third place. Dazen getting up into second. More carnage further back. Matsumu 3 wide going through turn 2 and 3. You don't see that very often. Matsumu trying to make up places as Mids has dropped 3 spots on this opening couple of corners. Now 4 as his teammate gets past him as well as Alpha lags a little bit in the straight there. Joe's lost a couple of places I think as well. Poor restart for him after getting caught up in the collision on the opening lap. But it's Geek leading now from Dazen. Cameron Searle dropping back to third.
God, I'm just having a look at that incident quick.
Whilst you do that, Tom Hug is struggling to keep up with the leading contenders. RWB trying to recover. Mids has lost a whole heap of places. Was 9th at the restart, now 14th. I think he's going to lose a couple of more places because here comes RWB behind him. No, it's Quicks actually, RWB behind Assassin in the other Aston Martin. I think Joe's had some more issues, just getting caught up in this mid-pack. This is not what he would have wanted. Wanted to make up as many places as possible, trying to get past these slower drivers. Geek leading the way. Joe getting out of shape massively. Fabio's going to be all over the back of him. Here comes RWB trying to get past the second Aston Martin down to turn 1. I think this is going to be a lot easier than some of the moves we've seen so far. Got the overspeed, sent out the inside, and that is going to be a clean move for RWB. Looking to recover from the first lap instant as he gets past Assassin and up into 12th place. Alpha next on his hit list, then Krabby Patty as Matamu has moved up into 9th. Joe managed to hold off the attack from Fabio. I wonder if maybe he's got some side pod damage or floor damage. I'm not sure if that's a setting we've got on. Out in front though, Dazen just 0.6 of a second behind Geek. Cameron Searle struggling to keep up with him. Tom Hug falling further back as well. AD's got past Aria on the restart round there as well. We saw a lot of changes of position as people tried to send it either up the inside or around the outside of Tarzan at turn 1. Matamumu though trying to make up places, get back through the field. Mids now under pressure again from Quicks on the soft compound tyres. The Alpine gets a much better exit. Can he use the slipstream to send it into the chicane? We'll have to wait and see if he gets that place. Bit of contact there as Alpha goes into the back of Krabby Patty. I don't think it would have been enough to dislodge a front wing end plate, but will sit behind until the main straight and then should fly past the McLaren driver as Geek sets another fastest lap, but only 0.6 clear of Dazen at the moment. It's actually RWB that's going to try and get past Alpha. Over to the left, the right-hand side goes Krabby Patty trying to ward off any potential attacks from the cars behind. Alpha's all over him, almost pushing him round turn 1 and into turns 2 and 3, getting very close to the AlphaTauri and the McLaren drive with RWB waiting to pounce behind. We said it earlier, it's very difficult to overtake. I think as people settle into this race a little bit more, we're going to see that. Assassin behind, under pressure from Ice, meanwhile, who's looking to recover as well. Oh, Geek's lost a couple of places. Geek is down to third, and our race leader has made some kind of error. I'm not sure what it was. We saw him maybe rejoining the track there, I'm not sure. But Dazen has just found himself in the lead of the race, courtesy of a mistake from the McLaren driver. Maybe getting hooked in on those curves on the outside that we spoke about in qualifying, drops down to third, and that's all the hard work of qualifying done. Alpha and RWB debating 11th place. We're looking at this battle between Ice and Assassin. RWB did get in front of the McLaren. That's going to be crucial for his recovery. Now going to get past the hard tyre runner in front of me of Krabby Patty, who's struggling to keep up with the cars in front. Matty Mumu, I think, is shaping up to make a move on Moore Island as well. DRS open for both cars, but should get this done down to turn one, and does. The Alfa Romeo doesn't fight it too much, but Matty Mumu goes way too deep. This has been a disastrous race for Williams so far. Started 4th and 5th. That was probably seen as a little bit disappointing. They're struggling to make their way through. Matty Mumu has left the session. Just more woes for Matty Mumu in this season. It just, everything's going wrong for him. And yeah, that's another disconnect. We've been seeing a lot of those from him over the course of the season. Alpha losing another place, drops down behind Assassin. Yeah, carnage. The action is actually a lot better than I thought. And I wonder if Adi and Ari are going to try and get past Tom Hug, who's struggling for pace at the moment. Gap out in front is 1.2 seconds between Dazen and Cameron Searle as Matamir rejoins the race, but he's just been overtaken by RWB, which won't be ideal because that Mercedes car is pretty quick as RWB has got past Krabby Patty, who then gets past Matamir, but I think they're side by side looking at the delta there. Tom Hug holding on to 4th ahead of Adi and Ari, but I think we could see some more swapping of positions down into turn 1.
So if it's all right if we go back to the T1 incident with Dazen and Cam Searle.
Yes, we'll just see if AD gets past here. Tom Hug goes defensive into turn 1. Will AD try and send it around the outside? Ooh. Absolutely, he'll try and send it around the outside. Can Tom Hug hold on? No, actually gives up the place on the right-hand side there. AD up into 4th place. Brilliant move around the outside. And there's the Alfa Romeo driver up into P4. Tom Hug will have to deal with the coming cars behind of Aria, GMT, and then eventually you'd think RWB. Matty Mumu is down in last place, I've just seen. I'm not sure how that happened. Maybe some contact with Krabby Patty, who, when Matty Mumu rejoined, they were side by side. And Matty Mumu's retired from the session and he's left. That is one of the big contenders. A shocking race for Matty Mumu. Got caught out in that turn 1 skirmish with his teammate and is now the first retiree. I think that's probably a wheel issue, maybe, that's made him just sack it off. I'm not sure. But Matty Mumu, when it rains, it pours, and he is out of the race. Alex, on to we can finally get back to that first corner incident.
Yeah, it seemed to me, I was just having a look back at the replay. It looked like, obviously, Cameron was first going into that corner, Dazen second. And it just looked like on the entry into the corner that Dazen tried to take a slightly tighter line, as we can see on the board there, that Geek's overtaking Cam Searle. And what's happened is Dazen's gone in, they've gone side by side and perhaps accidentally clonked each other, then causing them to lose their traction and then sort of slide out.
Yeah,
but very well held by both drivers, I have to admit. You know, there's not a lot of steering
especially
angle.
Cameron Searle, yeah.
Yeah, there's not a lot of steering angle in these Formula 1 cars compared to sort of the cars that I'm used to driving, so that's commendable.
It was a proper 4-wheel drift after the contact was made. Cameron Searle was a little bit more sideways. Losing that place though, Geek, as we saw while we were talking about that, making amends for that mistake he made 5 or 6 laps ago, is now going to catch Dazen. They've seen 2 of their potential challengers, the 2 Williams, basically just self-destruct in this race as the Alfa Romeo of Moore Island gets out of shape. We're seeing a bit of a choo-choo train forming here behind Tom Hug, who's got back past AD. We saw them swapping places earlier. The Mercedes got back past the Alfa Romeo. It's a train going all the way down to, I'm not sure what position it is, 10th place, although Krabby Patty's passing them, catching them pretty quickly. GMT's looking to make a move on Ari and has actually got that place. The Ferrari into turn 1 gets past the Alpine and will set his sights on the car in front. Joe struggling to hold on to places. Alfa, who got caught up in the first lap incident as well, trying to make amends. The Williams have just had an absolute shocker in the first third of this race. One of them's out, the other one's nowhere near the podium places, which is what Joe would have been aiming for. Another driver who's just not had the rub of the green so far this season. Aria under pressure again from RWB, who's done a much better job of recovering. We got 2 cars off. Aria got caught up on the curves, and then there was a Red Bull of what I imagine is Ice getting caught up in the same spot and going off into the grass. This is Ice, in fact, trying to hold on to 10th place after that mistake. Krabby Patty, who has put up some very aggressive is probably the wrong word, but he's been very firm in his defence from drivers trying to get past, and gets past the senior Red Bull car. Does the junior car, bit of contact on the exit there. Assassin looking to mop up the pieces if anything comes of this, trying to get up into the top 10. Krabby Patty, I think, will lose this place though with no DRS. Round the banking they go. It can be very slippery. Is he diving into the pits? No, he's diving to the right hand side. We could have 3 wide downs to turn 1 here. Assassin's going to go all the way to the right hand side. Can he find a space to go up the inside? No. The Ice holds on. Krabby Patty tries to send it back around the outside. This is some incredible racing. Look how close they are as Krabby Patty's pushed onto the grass by Ice. Is that going to open the door for Assassin? No, he's dropped a little bit too far back. More incredible racing. I wonder if the stewards will have maybe something to say about it. I doubt, because it was all okay. Assassin's going to try and make a move. You don't see overtakes through here into 5 and 6 and into turn 7. Through goes the Aston Martin. Krabby Patty still will not give up on any of these positions. Sends it around the outside. Got to avoid the curbs. He's going to be tight on the left-hand side. I think Assassin should get this place done. No, he doesn't. Brilliant from the AlphaTauri. Holds on. And Krabby Patty, defending like it's for the World Championship, holds on to 11th place. Out in front as Joe trying to make amends for the mistakes earlier, trying to recover, get past Assassin, who's been caught up behind the AlphaTauri. The top 3 separated by under a second at the moment. We could see a change for the lead potentially down to turn 1. Joe sits behind Assassin. Got to be careful with the other McLaren of Alpha. Speaking of McLaren cars, here comes Geek back up into the lead of the race, up the inside into turn 1. Can Cameron Searle try and get back up into second as Dazen loses that place? But no, it is Geek from Dazen from Cameron Searle as we reach the a third of the way through this race. Assassin finally getting past Krabby Patty further down the field though. That's been a couple of laps coming. Krabby Patty gets back past him. This is some of the best defending I've ever seen in a BUSR race. Assassin should have the inside line here though. He's got to be more aggressive to try and get this place won and done, because it's losing him so much time behind the hard runner in the AlphaTauri car. As we go through turns 4, 5 and 6, Assassin does get through. Will Krabby Patty try to repeat what Assassin tried in the previous lap? No. And finally, we can breathe, because that is 11th place for Assassin. It's not one and done though, as there's contact going through turn 10, I believe that is.
Yep, small slide.
Yeah, a bit of contact on the apex. I think Krabby Patty went a bit too deep. He does not want to give up this 11th place. I commend the efforts to try and hold on to every position possible. Assassin will try and run away. They've got to be careful because Joe and Alpha are very quick. Is Joe going to try and move into the penultimate corner? No, sits behind. I think he's going to get that position into turn 1. Joe's not got a lot of pace at the moment. He didn't show it earlier. He's going to go up the inside of the banking though. Krabby Patty needs to make sure he's not coming into the pits. Dives in behind the Williams to try and get the slipstream to defend from Alpha. Here comes the McLaren at the inside. Is he going to hit Joe? It was very close under braking. Was far too deep into the corner, trying to ensure he got the place done on Krabby Patty. But yeah, Alpha up into 13th. Krabby Patty down to 14th. Fabio behind gets past Quicks, and GMT loses out to RWB. There's overtakes all over the show here. GMT and RWB are going to continue their squabble over 6th and 7th. AD's right in front of them as well. And then is Tom Hug, who has been the head of this choo-choo train for a little while. But one by one, certain drivers have fallen off the back of the train. We're talking about Aria and Moore Island trying to keep up as well. Look at these 3 cars, separated by not a lot. And I wonder if GMT is going to think about a move. No, RWB was actually shaping for a move up the inside, but thinks better of it. RWB will be looking to get 5th place here. Somehow, after everything RWB has gone through in this race, he's back up to where he started. That is the ultimate never give up, ultimate showing of the never give up attitude. He's going to move up into 5th place now, and it's going to be a net gain for him. Probably not the way he would have expected, but RWB up the inside of AD into turn 1. Will he get this move done? Yes, he will. He's now Mercedes 4 and 5. AD's going to try and fight this on the outside, but I think he's got that position done. He has, and it is RWB into 5th. Ice got past Aria behind him as well, and then it is going to be Joe who got past Assassin. All action stuff. out in front, Geek has not managed to shake off the two guys behind. They're separated by 0.7 of a second. There's a big gap back to Tom Hug of 7 seconds. We've got a yellow flag. GMT is out of the race. That was just behind these guys. We're looking at, you can see the wheels off, and the safety car has been called because there is a stricken Ferrari thrown across the track. That is going to bring the likes of Joe, Assassin, Alpha, those guys that pitted earlier, back into this race, and that wipes out that 7-second lead that those leaders had. I wonder if they're going to jump into the pits for a set of hard compound tyres. I'd be surprised if they all stayed out, to be honest, because this is the freest of freebies as they come round the final corner. Geek is into the pits, Dazen is into the pits, and so is Cameron Searle. Finally, a chance to breathe as the Ferrari has its wheel torn off by the barriers. This is going to hurt RWB again, though, because he's going to have to double stack behind his teammate. Moore Island doing the thing we see in real life, backing off to try and make a gap to his teammate. I wonder if the stewards will have a look at that as Aria picks up a penalty. Even under the safety car, there's so much action to talk about.
I mean, it's an ideal time to go into the pits whilst it's on the safety car. You don't lose that much.
Wow. One driver has stayed out, and it's probably the driver that needs to pit the most. Quicks on 13-lap-old soft tyres is going to be an absolute sailboat when everybody catches him up, because those tyres are going to be absolutely destroyed on the safety car restart. Geek, Dazen and Cameron Searle maintain the positions out in front. RWB got caught out by having to queue behind his teammate and dropped behind not only Quicks but AD, who has put on the medium tyres. This does not help the hard runners because they were looking to run a lot longer, and I doubt the mediums will be able to go 21 laps. It'll be interesting to see how the tyre wear is there. Quicks is going to... I mean, it's not the strategy call I would have gone for, staying out on those soft tyres, but he's gone for the track position, and we'll try and push these for maybe another, I don't know, well, I couldn't tell you, 5 laps. You can't get 10 laps out of these soft tyres. There's no way you could do 23 laps on a set of soft compound tyres. That would be absolutely crazy. But yeah, everyone catching the train now. It is Geek from Dazen, from Cameron Searle, Tom Hug, AD, Quicks, like we mentioned, RWB Moran, Ari, who picked up a speeding penalty coming into the pits, and then Ice rounding out the top 10. Further down, you can see Assassin, Krabby Patty, Joe. This helps him sort of because it brings him back into the pack, but his pace, which we saw on the hard tyres, was pretty atrocious, it has to be said. Had a Alpha all over the back of him. Speaking of Alpha, down in 14th. Quite a contrast for the two McLaren drivers, one up in first, one in 14th. Then it is Fabio, Mids and Nat the Cat and Quicks, who obviously didn't want to queue behind his teammate, now comes into the pits. And, well, he's assured himself of last place by staying out. But yeah, he does put on those medium tyres, which... will they go to the end? We'll have to wait and see. Maybe they're hoping for another safety car. Obviously, that's in the future. We haven't got there yet, so we'll have to wait and see what happens. What this will do is cause Matty Mumu a lot of strife in this championship battle. Obviously, this will probably be the race that he drops, considering he was kicked out of it by some kind of game glitch when he disconnected and then just kind of blew up as he rejoined and then retired. So this will undoubtedly be Matimu's drop round unless he misses a race in the coming weeks. But yeah, not ideal. You want to make sure you can accumulate the most points as possible, and this is going to be a big blow to his title challenges, isn't it?
Especially in the title race, like you don't see in other sports where somebody like isn't able to make something.
Yeah, safety car in this lap. Geek is going to lead them away for the second time, but he's now got Dazen behind him. Dazen is pretty racy, as we've seen on safety car restart, so I think the McLaren is going to be looking in those papaya rear view mirrors, because the Red Bull is going to be all over the back of him as we come out of the final couple of corners. To restart this race, 20 laps to go, what do you think's going to happen?
Anything.
Anything. That is probably the best answer.
But I don't want to jinx it. Touch wood.
Touching all the wood. Geek backing them up, going much later than we saw earlier. He's still backing them up, and he's gone now. Slightly later, Cameron Searle's been caught napping because Tom Hug's got past him on the restart. I think he's going to have to give that place back because he could get swallowed up by the pack. As you can see, the two Alfa Romeos and his Mercedes teammate AD gets back past Tom Hug. Does he? No, he doesn't. Tom Hug holds on to that position after illegally overtaking. We've got Aria getting past Moore Island on the restart there, and now challenging RWB. Aria with a penalty going up the inside of turns 3. This is almost 3 wide as we go through the first banking section. Moore Island goes a little bit too wide as Ice tries to come up the inside, but Moore Island holds on to that place with a good exit. Geek still holding on to the lead out in front from Dazen and Cameron Self. Tom Hug, who nearly made a complete Horlicks of the restart, holds on to 4th ahead of AD, sorry. Then comes Aria, RWB losing that place. Then it's Moore Island, Ice and Assassin. Joe in 11th, going to try and make up as many places as possible, but he is a long way down the field.
Yeah, no, I said about like maybe a crash. I didn't think it was going to be that close through, what was it, turn 5?
It was very close between those
10-3.
drivers. Yeah. A traditional overtaking spot, and we were probably expecting it to get quite bunched there, especially on the first lap and the restarts. The banking also creates an element of unknown because you can take quite a few lines through there, and they're all similarly matched on speed. Aria struggling to hold on to 6th place. RWB will try and get in the slipstream, use a bit of ERS to try and get this place back that he lost on that restart. Down the inside into turn 1 we go. Aria loses 7th place. Will he lose another place because Ice and Moore Island are squabbling, and Aria went a little bit wide as he let the Mercedes go through. These two still side by side going up through turns 2 and 3. Moore Island trying to hold on. Aria's spun though. Was there contact with RWB? RWB getting caught up a little bit as Aria drops all the way to the back of the field. The two Alpines occupying the last 2 spots now. Side by side, Will banging. Who was that? I think it's Ice and RWB. It's getting very argy-bargy as we go through turns 5, 6 and 7. RWB holds on to that place, says, no, you will not come past me, Mr. Red Bull driver. Moore Island sat behind him as well, and then it's Assassin Joe will be licking his lips with these guys battling so hard. Quicks picks up a penalty for crossing the white line at pit exit. Not ideal for him as Joe is all over the back of Assassin. Got a great run out of turn 10. Can he try and make something work down to the chicane of turns 11 and 12? It's going to be difficult to get at the inside. No, and actually has to think about Alpha in the McLaren behind. Krabby Patty and Fabio sat just behind them as well. Look at this massive train of midfield cars. Towards the front, Cameron Sell, only 2.5 tenths behind Dazen, as Dazen sits just under half a second now. He's catching very quickly down to turn 1. Cameron Sell with the fastest lap. This is Ice trying to get past RWB for the second time in as many laps. Look at the defence going on behind of Moore Island. Up the inside goes Ice to get past RWB. Geek and Dazen, I think, are battling out in front though as they swap places momentarily. Ice gets up into 6th place, so you can see Cameron Sell trying to dart underneath the Red Bull to try and get this place one and done. Look at the battling going on here. It's very, very difficult as Geek tries to hold on to the position. Like we said, difficult to overtake sometimes when everyone's so easily matched on pace.
He is really trying to get past as well, though. From Dazen's perspective.
The racing has been very hard, and the majority of it has been very fair. We saw a little bit of wheel banging from Ice and RWB. It didn't look overly personal, but it was certainly spectacular as they come through turns 10 and up to the chicane. Dazen sat just under 4 tenths of a second behind there. Pretty equidistant, the leading trio, and it's actually a group of them. They battled so hard on that previous lap that Tom Hug and Aria have sat just behind. They've got 5 cars in DRS range of each other, and Ice and RWB will be closing them down as well. They've got to make sure they don't lose too much time battling because of the cars behind. Geek will not have DRS. This could be crucial. This could be a change for the lead. Will Geek defend this into turn 1? He stays to the left-hand side. I think he's going to be pretty happy for Dazen to come up the inside of him down into turn 1. Cameron Searle's going to have a look, but has to get on the brakes pretty late there as he almost runs into the side of the McLaren car. Joe getting past Moore Island, has he? No, he's still sat behind Moore Island. Still people flip-flopping place behind you. You see these 5 cars, 5 different teams squabbling over the lead potentially in a couple of laps' time as RWB gets back past Ice down into turn 1 to reclaim 6th place. He's been all over the field. RWB getting back up to where he started. 3 cars wide, almost going down into turn 6 and 7. Is Assassin under pressure from Moore Island, and Joe trying to nip in there to get one of these places as well, trying to recover from the trials and tribulations of his Grand Prix. You see ERS light briefly flashing and flashing again on the back of Moore Island Alfa Romeo. He has used all of his battery and is going to be under pressure on the straights and going to find it hard to get past Assassin, although they're following each other so closely. Dirty air obviously doesn't exist around this track. Joe, will he have a look up the inside into turn 11? No, it was Moore Island shaping to try and get past Assassin. Alpha still behind him as well as I start to lose my voice, which is not going to be ideal if we want to get through the next 16 laps of this race. Out in front, Dazen's got the lead from Geek. Somewhere around there, Geek has lost the lead. He's made another mistake. Or was it Dazen using the DRS to get past him? Here comes Geek to try and get past him. Down to turn 1. Cameron Sells on the inside. There's going to be contact. Is there? No, there's not. Cameron Sell holds on to the lead of the race now as he takes it from Geek, catches Geek and Dazen napping down into turn 1. I think I was absolutely waffling there when I said that Geek had lost the lead, because we literally just watched Dazen take the lead on the previous lap. Very well done from me there. Moore Island and Assassin, who were battling over 8th place, have been jumped by Joe and Alpha to drop down to 10th and 11th respectively, and are now going to have to watch out for Krabby Patty sat behind them. But Cameron Searle, using the double slipstream he got to fly past Geek and Dazen, Geek ends up with a net 0 gain in 2nd place, and Dazen, the big loser, dropping down to 3rd. Tom Hug's right with them as well, as is AD, as is RWB, as is Ice. Joe's only about 4 or 5 seconds off the lead. Surely not. Joe can't catch these guys and win the race after everything he's been through. Alpha 9th and Moore Island dropping down to 10th. Non-stop action as Dazen struggling to keep up out in front. I think he had a bit of a mistake through the middle sector there. Tom Hug all over the back of him. We can see the delta times is actually closed back up to the rear of the McLaren of Geek, who's actually the one struggling to hold on to Cameron Searle. I think he's trying to put his foot down out in front. Here is Ice at the back of this train behind the leaders, trying to have a look around the outside of the Mercedes of RWB, but thinks better of it. 7 cars squabbling over a potential race win. I mean, is this like F1 2012? I don't know. It's crazy to watch, and hopefully we get a really good battle. And if I were one of the top 3, I'd be doing what Cameron Searle's doing, to be honest, trying to break away so that the threat of the unpredictability, let's say, of the 4 cars that are chasing them. Ice has made up 12 places, by the way, after starting last. Crazy stuff from him. Cameron Searle trying to break away, and he's almost got Geek out of DRS range. Dazen caught up behind the McLaren. I think we'll be trying to get past him very quickly. Cameron Searle making a break out in front. It's like one of those like the cycling races where they're all, bunched up at the start, and then one person breaks, a couple of people try to go with them. Will Geek and Dazen be able to hold on to this pace of Cameron Searle, who has now got Geek out of DRS range? This could be crucial for the final 14 laps of this race.
Do we also have a look at the tyre compounds as well, depending on if there's no safety car? That's the word I'm looking for. It could be that Tom Huggan 380 maybe they catch up because they've got slightly more softer tyres.
Battles going on
say
to
that
turn
as
1.
the RWB. Say that as RWB sort of jumping around between that and the Alpha.
Yeah, you felt it coming further forward. Dazen gets past Geek very easily. I wonder if Geek is now struggling to match the pace of the 2 cars in front, and RWB squabbling with AD. AD actually managed to hold on to 5th place as RWB sent it up the inside to try and make it a Mercedes 4-5. Behind them is still Ice in the Red Bull, and Joe is slowly catching them. I think it was 3 seconds at one point. Now down to 2.2, bringing Alpha along with him. Moore Island and Assassin have dropped off this train as Cameron Searle continues to bolt out in front. 1.1 seconds, the gap. Geek is still sat behind Dazen, so they're all trying to pull away from this group. Tom Hug, who's been left for dead now, is nearly 2 seconds behind them. Looking potentially for a move up the inside as RWB into the final corner, but I think he will use a bit of racing IQ and wait for the move down into turn 1, because he's got a really good run out of the final corner. He could get 2 places here. His teammate's going to be under threat going down into turn 1, although I think Tom Hug will be burning a bit of battery to stay in front, gets very close to his Mercedes teammate down into turn 1. Will AD try and hold it around the outside? You see the ERS light flashing for the Mercedes driver of RWB. Doesn't have a lot of battery left, but gets through and up into 5th place. Finally gets that down. It's been 3 or 4 laps coming, it has to be said, for RWB, and AD's now going to feel the wrath of the Red Bull of Ice behind. Joe's catching them, bringing Alpha along with him as well. Further back, we've got some more squabbling going on between Assassin and Krabby Patty, the Alpha Tauri getting up into 11th place. Ice gets very close to the back of AD, who's struggling to keep up with the 2 Mercs now in front of him as he gets a little bit out of shape. Ice sits behind for now, but he's got to be careful because he's got Joe and Alpha, 2 drivers that started, well, Joe qualified 5th, Alpha qualified 7th, started 12th, which meant they got caught up in the first corner melee. They've caught up now, though, and it could be another... What's this going to be? Is this going to be a 6-way fight for 4th place?
This is going to be a very interesting one. Yeah. Well, I mean, I usually am the one that's sort of talking about sort of fatigue and stuff. We're obviously now, 2/3 of the way in. 6-way battle, and then not too far away from podium as well. It's going to get tasty.
Haley struggling to hold on to places. Here comes Ice down the inside. I think there was a little bit of wheel banging maybe down to turn 1, but the Red Bull gets that position nicely done and up into 6th place. Been a brilliant drive from Ice. Made some very feisty overtakes. gets himself up into the top 6 and can maybe think about a P4, but he's got to be careful of Joe, who is much quicker than he was on the hard tyres earlier. Obviously really struggled for grip. These mediums suiting the Williams much better, trying to fly the flag for the Williams team, who have had a shocking day. He goes for the inside. There's contact though. That is not an overtaking spot, or it's not a regulation overtaking spot, but he tried it. He chanced his arm, but it didn't work. He's got to sit behind. Lucky that he didn't end up facing the wrong way after that contact between the front left of Joe's car and the rear right of Adi. He's chomping at the bit to get past this Alfa Romeo because he thinks a 4th place is probably in the offing, which, if you consider everything he's been through, the pace was terrible earlier on. He took out his teammate as well. I think he took out his teammate. We'll have to wait and see if we speak to either of them later on. Out in front, the gap has closed between Cameron Searle and Dazen, and Geek still managing to hold on. So these three have obviously decided to stop battling and try and pull away. Joe is going to ease past 80 down into turn 1 though. That was extremely simple with some DRS and probably some ERS. And up now into 7th place, nearly back to where he started as well. It's been a good recovery in the end from Joe. The safety car really helping him out. Will the medium tyres last another 10 laps though? We'll have to wait and see. Ice on the hard tyres with really good pace at this point, sat behind the 2 Mercedes cars. Cameron Searle only 2 tenths ahead of Dazen, with Geek sat right behind them as well, waiting to pounce on any potential contact. We have got a 3-way fight for the win, and this is 3 very different teams, 3 very different looking cars, and there are 3 possible outcomes, all of which we have no idea which one it will be. Will it be Cameron Searle, will it be Dazen, or will it be Geek? 10 lap shootout to try and find out who will win the Dutch Grand Prix. Will it be a 3rd win of the season for Cameron Searle? Will it be a 2nd win in a row for Dazen? Or will it be a 1st win in quite a while for Geek in the McLaren?
I mean, AlphaTauri in the as a podium spot's quite an unlikely one in real life. Why not have it here?
Absolutely. Well, AlphaTauri winning races in real life is quite unlikely unless you're Sebastian Vettel and you're in a Toro Rosso car. You can see the ERS charge there for Cameron Searle, I think it was, or it might have been Dazen, was very high. So he's obviously plotting his attack. Further back, RWB and Ice get past Tom Hug, who's starting to struggle on those 12-lap-old medium tyres. This is a battle for, I think that is Alpha getting past Adi, who continues to tumble through the field. Alpha up into 8th place now, recovering from the grip penalty and then the first corner accident. Adi's actually lost a lot of time. Alpha pulled a big chunk of time. Wow, Adi must have made a mistake somewhere after the overtake was done. This is further forward. Tom Hug has lost those 2 places, was running 4th. He's now swapped places with his teammate. Ice is looking very good. Those medium tyres must be starting to struggle, which won't be good news for Joe in his quest to finish in the top 5, but he will have the advantage, or, well, he'll be neutralised against Tom Hug because they're on the same tyres. Here is Dazen though. Look at that ERS charge, 80% as he came out of the final corner. He uses a little bit to try and stay close to Cameron Searle. I would imagine Cameron Searle and Geek are doing something similar, trying to save some battery. Is he going to make a move down to turn 1? Cameron Searle's got no battery left at all, so make of that what you will, as Dazen sits behind for now. I think he's waiting for maybe the final 5 laps or so to try and get this overtake done. But it is Cameron Searle with not a lot of battery left, Dazen with a lot of battery left, and Geek, who, well, it's a lottery really. Will he be somewhere in the middle? Will he be on the low end or the high end? We'll have to wait and see. Krabby Patty and Assassin dueling once again as they go into combat over 11th place, and they've got Fabio and the 1 remaining Ferrari just behind them as well. Difficult race for Aston Martin. We saw Midge tumble through the field on the safety car restart. Assassin hasn't really made a lot of progress after getting involved in the first lap incident, battling over 11th right now. Still Cameron Searle from Dazen, from Geek, RWB and Ice completing the top 5. Ice looking very quick, and if he can finish 4th in this race, that would be an amazing achievement after the issues in qualifying and starting in last place.
Didn't he have a quali ban?
I don't think so. I think he had some connection issues. I think it was Krabby Patty.
I'm getting my people mixed up, that's why.
Yeah, Krabby Patty that had the quali ban has done pretty well, in fact, to end up in 11th place, battling with Assassin. Can Ice make a move on the 2nd Mercedes of RWB down to turn 1? Will RWB go defensive? No. Ice actually sits behind. You can see in the background there, Tom Hug now under pressure from Joe, who's looking to force his way into this top 4 conversation. It is RWB holding on 4.5 seconds off the leading trio that have really been dropped since they stopped squabbling, Searle, Dazen and Geek, and put their collective feet on the pedals and pulled that gap to over 4.5 seconds now. Joe so close to the back of Tom Hug. going through turns 5 and 6. It seems like it's only going to be a matter of time until Joe gets up into 6th place and will try and challenge for 4th and 5th. But those medium tyres are going to be starting to feel a little bit average. DRS for both cars. Tom Hug has now dropped over a second, so that's probably the last helping hand of DRS he is going to get, and I think he's going to be a sitting duck down into turn 1. Dazen is only 3/10 behind Cameron Searle. Is this the change of lead we were thinking of? He's not using any ERS, but he's going to use the DRS to get past Cameron Searle very easily, and Dazen is once again leading this race. He led it in the early stages. He took it from Geek about 10 laps ago, and then they both got I've forgotten what the word is. They both had it nabbed. They both got robbed. Burgled. There it is. We were going through all the different types of stealing things. Contact, though, between Joe and Tom Hug, and I think Joe does survive it, actually. It looked like he may have got thrown off to the left-hand side of the screen. Yeah, there was wheel banging. They're getting very close. Joe desperate to get this position off Tom Hug and set about challenging RWB and Ice in front of him, but he can't do it. Tom Hug, very solid in his defence, holding on to 6th. They've got a decent gap of 2.5 seconds to Alpha behind. I still think Joe is going to get this place, but I think his progress will stall after that. Six laps to go at the end of this one. Who is going to make their move out in front? Dazen's taken the lead back, but Cameron Searle only with 35% ERS compared to 84 for Dazen. I wonder if he's going to use a little bit to defend. Geek got a decent whack of battery left as well, 60%. We've got a yellow flag. We've got I think it's a Haas facing the wrong way of Nat the Cat. Yes, he is. Cameron Searle's going to take the lead back from Dazen down to turn 1. Thankfully, no safety car there. Cameron Searle does what Dazen did on the previous lap. I think there was a bit of contact there, and that's allowed Geek to maybe have a run on the Red Bull down to turns 2 and 3. He has a look up the inside. Dazen, wise to it, manages to hold on to 2nd place, but that was a little bit sketchy for Dazen. I think he just ran into the back of Cameron Searle coming through turn 1, and then had a bit of a whack of oversteer, had to put an alarmful of opposite lock on, as Joe has finally got past Tom Hug. It was looking like it was going to happen for 5 or 6 laps. The problem is he's lost 2.5 seconds to the cars in front. RWB 5 seconds off the podium, so it's probably going to be a maximum of 4th place for Joe if he's got the pace and the tyres left to challenge the 2 guys in front. The hard tyres are going to be a lot better than the mediums at this stage, so well, we'll have to wait and see what Joe does on what's been a very difficult day if your car is... What kind of blue would you say that is? A light blue, maybe? A sort of sea blue? It's a nice livery the Williams have got.
Oh,
come around
yeah,
the front corner there.
I'd say it's a lot darker than the Alpine one, but then again, Alpine's got pink on it.
Very true. The pink is definitely stands out. Dazen, I think, he's going to try and get the lead back again into turn 1. These two just working with each other, swapping places as we get down to the final few laps of this race. Dazen takes the lead back. Contact, I think, there between Ice and RWB, but Ice forces his way past in the Red Bull. And from 19th on the grid, he is now 4th. And that is an exceptional drive for the Red Bull driver. I think he was in a Haas previously and made a pretty good recovery before getting a post-race penalty. But Ice is up into 4th place. Can he try and break away from RWB and hold on to it? I think RWB is having a look. Is he? No. Sits behind, and that is going to be probably battle over as Nat the Cat spins for the 2nd time in as many laps, down in 17th and last place. A difficult end to the race, it has to be said. Dazen a little bit wide through turn 10. Open the door for Cameron Searle, who maybe got a little bit greedy. He's got a terrible exit. Geeks managed to force his way alongside. Will he go around the outside into turn 11 and 12? I think he'll just sit behind and try and get the old switcheroo maybe to get a good exit and set him up nicely to try and get past both of these cars down into turn 1. They're continuing to battle, these 3. Who's going to come out on top? We still have no idea because they keep swapping places, and well, neither look particularly bothered about losing those places. Cameron Searle's going to use the DRS and probably a bit of battery again to pass Dazen down to turn 1. This is a very interesting battle we've got going on because no one really wants to make their move yet. They want to save the battery, wait until probably lap 35 before they're going to make a move. This is Tom Hug, who's starting to struggle as he gets out of shape through turn 1, drops behind Alpha down into 8th place, was in 4th at one point for those medium tyres, struggling into team battle between the 2 Alfa Romeo cars. AD is struggling on those medium tyres as well. Moore seems to have a little bit more performance left as AD has slipped from 5th place earlier on down into 9th and struggling to hold on to that 9th place, his teammate looking to find a couple more points to add to his tally. As surely they're not going to go side by side. No, they're not. Alpha, we can see they're holding on to Tom Hug, who was potentially looking for a Joe level of ambitious move up the inside into turns 8 and 9, but thinking better of it and holds on. Alpha, though, can he catch Joe in front? It's unlikely. Joe has taken a little bit more time out of Ice and RWE than I was expecting, though they have been battling a little bit. As we get ready to start lap 34, Dazen, I think, is going to take the lead back again here. And will this be time? Will this be the time that he tries to bolt and break away from the two cars behind? Geek has been very happy to sit in third place for the majority of this stint. We'll have to wait and see what goes on. Can Cameron Sell get the lead back? Will he have the battery? We'll have to wait and see if he saved it up. Dazen, I think, though, is trying to pull away. You can see the gap's nearly 0.6 of a second. He is pushing now. I think he's decided that now is the time to pull away and try and get the lead and get the win sewn up as Moore Island down the inside of AD into turn 1. That was pretty nice, although there was a bit of contact on exit. Maybe a little bit lazy from Moore Island, just sort of opening the steering wheel while AD was still there. But it is not a problem, as both Alfa Romeos make it through and they swap places. 9th for Moore Island, AD down into 10th. The Alpines battling over 15th. Not ideal. The only drivers with penalties as well, and they're 16 seconds behind the main pack. Is Quick's going to have a go down the inside into turn 1. He was very late on the brakes. We've got a yellow flag. Naptic has retired from the race. This is a good little battle from the two Alpine cars as Aria holds on to 15th. Dazen hasn't managed to break away. You can see all the debris there. I think it is possible to pick up a puncture from debris on this game, so people are going to be very lucky to try and avoid the front wing. Is Cameron Sell going to get the lead back as we start the penultimate lap? He sits behind him. Tactics at play here. Cameron Sell waiting until the last lap. Only 30% ERS compared to what I imagine will be a bit more. Dazen's used a little bit. 46% left for him now. Geek's actually got the least, which is surprising me, actually. He's obviously trying to make a move. Geek got to make his move now if he's going to win this race. Cameron Sell's just got to try and stay as close as he can to Dazen. Nobody knows who's going to win this. We've got 3 drivers battling it out. They've seemed fairly happy to just sit in formation for the previous 10 or 15 laps. What is going to happen, though, on this final lap? Ice is under pressure from RWB, meanwhile, and Joe has managed to catch them. So Joe can still finish 4th here. We have to give him his credit. Those medium tyres have held on much better than certainly I was expecting them to. But we could have a very interesting finish as our top 3 battle away and 3 cars behind them also duel at very similar distances apart. Here we go then. To start the final lap of the Dutch Grand Prix, Dazen, previous race winner, Cameron Sell, championship leader, and Geek, who hasn't won a race for a little while and will be hoping to return to the winner's circle. DRS open, defensive goes Dazen, moves to the right hand side to turn 1. There is contact, but both drivers managed to hold on. Is Cameron Sell getting out of shape? Is this Geek's opportunity to try and get second place? He wasn't actually that close coming out of the final corner, and that's why he's not been able to capitalise on the battles between the leading duo. Behind them, Ice and RWB and Joe squabbling over 4th, 5th and 6th. That could go down right to the wire. We've got a yellow flag. Mids has retired in the Aston Martin. No safety car is going to be called because we are on the final lap, but that is a rotten end. So it's been a difficult race for Mids. Through the middle sector we go. Dazen holding on. Geek's got to try and do something now if he's going to get past him. Cameron Sell's got absolutely no battery left, so he's going to be struggling to hold on. Geek gets out of shape there. He drifts almost through turn 9 there. I think that's going to wreck any chance he had for the win. Cameron Sell's going to have to get an amazing run out of the chicane and through turn 13 and 14 if he's going to win this race. But Dazen, barring any mistakes, as Joe gets up into 5th, gets past RWB further back. That battle is going to go on until the line. I imagine it's RWB side by side. Down the inside, he tries to defend. Joe's using the gravel on the inside to try and get as much space as possible to try and hold on to P5, get back up into 5th place, which is where he started, believe it or not. Dazen wins the race as they come around the final corner from Cameron Sell and Geek. Can RWB get Joe on the run up to the line? They've both got the ERS like flashing. I think RWB might just get it over the line. He does. Oh. Joe drops back to 6th. 2 milliseconds. You can see the gap there. RWB does get a top 5 finish. Ice in 4th, Alpha behind them in 7th, Tom Hug 8th, and the 2 Alfa Romeos are going to cross the line in formation to finish 9th and 10th. And it was action-packed, but it was maybe a little bit anticlimactic, that final lap, because Cameron Sell couldn't quite get the move done, and Geek wasn't able to capitalise on the potential, on the contact that they made going through turn 1. The 2 Alpines are going to be the final cars over the line to complete an enthralling, I think it's right to say, Dutch Grand Prix, which isn't something we normally say about this race.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, is it going to be more fun than tomorrow at 6? Is it 6 a.m.?
Something like that.
Really?
I mean, I won't be waking up for it because, well, the track's a little bit bin. But we don't need to talk about that because we've had a brilliant race and Dazen makes it back-to-back victories as his teammate picks up the Driver of the Day award, which I would probably agree with, considering he came from 19th to 4th. That is your Dutch Grand Prix, though. Interview-wise, is there anyone you particularly want to speak to? I think the top 3 would be an interesting one. I'm not sure if Dazen has a microphone or not yet.
Would it also be a good idea to have a chat with Driver of the Day as well, from going from almost last to 4th?
We could do. I think 4 interviews is going to be quite a lot. So I think if we try and go for the top 3, and if one of them are unable to make it to our interview session, we'll drop down to Ice, who came from 19th on the grid to finish 4th. An extremely good effort. There is your podium celebration, though. It is back-to-back victories for Dazen. Cameron Searle returning to the podium after the troubles of the last Grand Prix and Geek ending up in 3rd place there. You can see the rest of our finishers. Ice, brilliant drive to get P4. RWB caught out in the opening stages with that first corner crash, ending up finishing in P5. Joe in P6, recovered pretty well, but lost out on a top 5 by 2 milliseconds. Could that prove crucial later on in the championship? Alpha and Tom Hug, 7th and 8th. Moore Island and AD, the 2 Alfa Romeos, round out our top 10 finishers. Assassin and Krabby Patty were duelling for the majority of that race. They finished ahead of Fabio and the 2 Alpines. Mids and Nat the Cat retiring but still classified. GMT and Matty Mumu completing our runners. Matty Mumu with a torrid evening's race, it has to be said. But that is the Dutch Grand Prix. Difficulties for the 2 Williams drivers has opened the championship up a little bit. Matty Moon getting no points. This is, I would imagine, going to be his drop round. Joe with a difficult run and to 6th place with that recovery, losing 5th on the line. And then our top 3, who were championship contenders coming into the race, and they've affirmed that with a very good drive from all 3 of them. Cameron Searle will be feeling frustrated to not take the win, same as Geek, who, well, if you start on pole and finish 3rd, you're always going to be a little bit disappointed. But a nice podium finish for Geek after 5th, I believe he was last week, and has had some issues over the course of the season. Getting ready for interviews, though. Out of 10, how would you rate that race?
Definitely a 9. I mean, you know, definitely going to be high up there. Very close, very all over the place. Yeah, not all over the place, but action all over the place. Not necessarily all crashes everywhere.
Yeah, I think the lead battle was a little bit anticlimactic. It was promising so much. It was building up throughout the race. They were just trading places, overtaking each other, using the DRS, saving battery. And in the end, Cameron Searle, when he went for the move around the outside, they made a bit of contact, and that was pretty much it for his race for the win. And also Geek getting caught up by that as well. Wasn't able to get past the AlphaTauri because he had a pretty poor exit out the final corner, though. We are going to begin our interviews by talking to our 3rd place finisher, Geek, coming home in 3rd. Good podium for the McLaren drivers. We prepare to bring those guys in. Geek, hello. A
Hello.
podium. I think after qualifying, you may have been hoping for a little bit more, though.
Honestly, I'm just happy with the podium, really. I had done no practice again sorry, out of breath. I've done no practice this weekend, and I have an issue with my throttle pedal, where I have no consistency when on throttle. So, I mean, to take a top 3, I'll definitely take that, especially when championship rivals Matty retired. I don't know what happened there, and Joe didn't have the best of races. It's blown it wide open to gain some spots, so I'm happy.
Yeah, I want to ask you about that because you were leading the opening stages and then you lost the lead. We didn't quite catch what it was. Was it just a mistake at some point in the middle of the lap?
Yeah, so I believe it was when I was still on medium tyres. There's this very specific curb in Sector 2. It's after the fast right-hander that leaves Sector 1. You've got the long right-hander, then like a quick flick to the right, but you've got outside curbing.
Yeah.
I think I just accidentally touched too much of that and off into the gravel realm I went. Really, just if you touch that curb too much, yeah, good luck. It will Tony Hawk you into oblivion, as Marcel Kiefer would say.
Yeah, we saw quite a few drivers getting caught out there, so you are not alone, of course. The final stint though was interesting because for the majority of it, it was Cameron Searle and Dazen flip flopping out in front, and you seemed fairly content to sit behind for the majority of it. Were you plotting some kind of charge late on, or was it just a little bit too difficult to get past them?
I was, yeah. To be honest, I was struggling on hard tires anyway. As I say, like I haven't done any practice, so I hadn't touched the hards. But yeah, there was really the only realistic tire I could go to after the safety car. I don't know if their setups were different. I was planning something, but as I say, my throttle pedal is a bit knackered. But essentially, the problem with it is I can't hold consistent percentages without it stuttering back and forth. So, say for example, is it turn 3? That's the banked one in sector 1.
Yes.
I think so. Yeah. Like, say for example, I was always getting wheel spin on the exit of that, or my actual throttle would cut out completely, and you could hear it with the engine sound. Just it goes, and just I've got no drive out of that corner. But I know I've sidetracked massively, but yeah, I was planning something. It was just I could never get close enough, and then yeah, I think they were just running less wings because my god, they were rockets down that straight.
Are you? You're on a wheel, aren't you?
I am, yeah.
Are you on a Logitech wheel by any chance?
Thrustmaster.
Ah, okay. Because I know that's a known issue with Logitech wheels. Because I've experienced it myself, actually. But yeah, it is can be quite annoying when that happens. But you must be encouraged though, because I think last time we spoke to you, you said you had no practice as well, and you were pretty quick. And again today, took pole position, and the race pace looked fairly solid throughout the majority of it.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, pole position I was not expecting whatsoever. Just I knew my first lap I made a few mistakes. I had to lift off going into sector 2. I also took too much curb at one point and had to back off and catch the car. But nah, for this last one, I just went full send, and I was thinking like I have purple sector 1, fair enough. Purple sector 2, sometimes it can glitch out, so it gives you a false sense of security. The second I crossed the line and I see purple at the top, I was like, oh my god, yes, I've done it. I've done it again.
Yeah, Austria next week. Obviously, a decent result for the championship wise, with the two Williams having a catastrophic day. I think it has to be said.
Is it Austria?
I believe it is Austria. I could be wrong though. It might be Miami actually.
It's one of the two, I think. I know Abu Dhabi's definitely last.
It is Miami. How do you feel about Miami?
I'll be honest. The first time I raced it was the winter 2022 season when we had F122. Took pole position. I was quite content, and I was thinking, okay, I might be able to win this race. And quite promptly, and there's a very infamous gif around BUSR with this, I binned it straight into the wall. I think
I've seen this. Yeah.
Yeah. Now last time around, it was a mega comeback drive from last to P5. But hopefully this time around, if I'm here next week, provided my throttle still survives, if I'm here next week, hopefully I can aim for another podium. Just my goal right now is just consistent top 5s to just until I get consistency under control. That's my goal. But fingers crossed for a podium and a win.
Yeah, fingers crossed, of course. But the pace is obviously very good with no practice. So imagine what you'd be like if you were able to get some practice. You'd be striking fear into a lot of your competitors, I imagine.
Oh, I hope so. Considering the past seasons I've had where it's constant P3s, or it's just, I've just been a bit accident prone. Okay, that's putting it lightly. Just put striking fear into my opponent's eyes for the right reasons, not for stuff on the lines of, nearly said Kevin Magnussen, Lord Maldonado.
Yes, the Lord Pastor himself. Thank you for talking to us, though. A very a solid weekend for you, though, and hopefully next week is as fruitful or even more fruitful when you can take your first win of the season.
Fingers crossed. Thanks, guys.
Thank you very much. So that is our third place finisher. We are now going to bring in our runner-up, Cameron Searle, returning to the podium after a difficult race last weekend. Cameron, hello. Second place. I said to Geek earlier, probably hoping for a little bit more. The win definitely looked there for the taking. Was it just a little bit too difficult to get past?
Yeah, I was running slightly higher wings, so just in this case, I'm happy with what I got. It's a good sort of bounce back after last week, but the win was there, which is always slightly disappointing.
Yeah, well, it's consistent, very consistent from you. If you take out last week, I think second is your worst finish in a Grand Prix, 2 seconds and 2 wins. So the consistency is definitely there, and I believe you do maintain your championship lead. Were you expecting this pace coming into it? Because for the majority of qualifying, you looked a little bit adrift of that leading. I think it was a leading group of 5, and then out of nowhere, bang, came in the purple lap time and took provisional pole until Geek just nabbed it off you right at the end. Were the expectations as high as they have been recently?
Yeah, I thought this track would be good for me. Spain, it was a one-off. I've actually replaced my wheelbase for this race. Yeah, that other one is now dead to me. But yeah, so this one, it's I think it's a bit more of a wheel track. I had a scruffy first lap, and then yeah, that last lap was my actual pace in qualifying, where I should have been from the start.
The pace was very good. Did you have any strategies you were going for? Because for the majority of that final stint, you and Dazen were swapping places. I guess just using the DRS to get past each other, trying to save a bit of battery. He had quite a lot of ERS for the majority of that. I don't know if you're aware of that. Was it the last lap assault that you were playing and weren't quite able to make it stick around the outside?
Yeah, exactly. I was half tempted for a send up the inside, but that never works at this track. And then just on the exit, just got squeezed onto the marbles and the curb, so I wasn't quite able to pull that off. But yeah, before that we were just swapping. We sort of wanted to be, I think we both wanted to be the attacker onto the second to last lap, as it were, just for track position on that final lap, because track position is absolutely key around here. But without the safety car, I think it would have been exactly the same result. Me, Geek, and Dasan as the top 3.
Well, the pace was obviously very strong, and unfortunately, you were unable to get that move done. Alex, do you have anything to add to any of that?
Not really, no. I think it's all bases covered.
Lovely. So next week, I got it wrong with Geek, so I'm going to try and get it right this time. Miami, not Austria. How are you feeling about that?
I think Matt will win that one. I think he'll have a good bounce back. I'm not quite as strong there, but it's we'll see.
Well, obviously the championship was blown wide open with the 2 Williams having difficult evenings. But yes, 3 races to go, and we wish you the best of luck for the rest of the campaign.
Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we've spoken to third, we've spoken to second. We're now going to bring in Dazen, our race winner, won back-to-back Grand Prix. Hello, my friend. That was a very nice victory for you.
Yeah, it was a hard-fought one, a bit more so than last week, but still managed to grind it out in the end.
And it is obviously back-to-back race wins now. One in Barcelona was pretty comfortable. Had a difficult first couple of races, but you're really finding your feet now. Do you believe you can win the championship?
I think it's possible because the first race was Texas. That's never a track I've been good at. I got 3rd, so that's not too bad. And then I've won on potentially my 2 best tracks. But there's still a couple coming up that I fancy. I think Austria is probably the key one that I've got to win if I'm going to win the championship, because that's a sprint race, but could be close.
Yeah, what during the race, that final stint was actually really interesting to watch, with you and Cameron just flip-flopping for the majority of it. He said that his main target was to be the attacking car going on to the penultimate lap. I'm guessing you had a similar viewpoint?
Yes, I overtook originally when I breezed past him down a straight, like lap 34 or something. and I had like 80% ERS, and I just burned it down to about 30-40%. And my intention was to try and gap Cameron, which in hindsight was a big mistake because I gapped him about 3/10 and just drained like half of my battery. So then I thought I was kind of just done for, because I thought Cameron had saved up a bit more and he would breeze straight past me down the straight, but that didn't happen.
Yeah, he actually didn't have a lot of ERS for the majority of that final stint. I think he was hovering around sort of between 20 and 30% for the majority of it. Alex, anything you want to say to our race winner?
Not really. Again, all bases covered.
Next week is Miami. We've had a few different opinions about how people think they're going to go. Well, Cameron said that Matty is probably the favourite going into it. Do you fancy your chances to potentially make it a hat trick of victories?
Not at all, really. I'm not a fan of Miami, especially racing once you get on worn tyres. It's, at least for me, it's pretty horrible to drive. But maybe I can make something happen if luck falls my way. But it's not going to be the same as Barcelona and this week, I don't think.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. But congratulations on your second victory in a row. Catapulted yourself very much into championship contention. And yeah, we wish you the best of luck for the rest of the season.
Thank you.
Thank you very much as well. So that is your Dutch Grand Prix. We've spoken to our winner, our podium sitters, and it was a race. We said it earlier. We think this will be a crucial race for the championship, and it certainly was. With Matty Moon having various game issues, he had contact with his teammate in tow, and I forgot that happened. Him and Joe getting caught out in that first corner accident. But yeah, championship has been blown wide open with two of the favourites looking in a little bit of trouble with 3 races to go. Final thoughts from you, Alex?
I mean, it's been pretty close today. I hope the rest of the season can be similar, I guess.
Yes, absolutely. Miami will be an interesting one. Very low grip circuit, especially with a recent update to the game. We could see a few whoopsies from some of our drivers, and again, it'll be a very important race for a lot of our championship contenders. The five main ones, 3 of which we spoke to, and then the 2 Williams, of course. But that has been it from us. A very exciting Dutch Grand Prix, surprisingly, considering what we see in real life. Obviously, throughout the week, you will get your fix of iRacing, Assetto Corsa, and the Dirt Rally or Dirt 4 Championship as well that will be going on. But that is going to be it from us for F1. We will see you next week. My name has been Tom.
No, I've been Alex.
And we will see you next time. Goodbye.
See you.